Do your feet tingle at night? Do your hands feel numb for no clear reason? Or perhaps you experience burning, stabbing, or electric pains that no one seems able to explain. If you can relate to any of these, stay with me for the next few minutes because what I'm about to share could explain why your nerves are suffering and, more importantly, how to stop the damage before it becomes permanent. This isn't about simply managing the pain. This is about protecting your nerves while you still can. Let me make a promise to you right away. By the end of this video, you will understand the single worst poison attacking seniors' nerves today. It's a poison that most people are exposed to every single day without even realizing it. And I'll show you exactly what puts you at risk and what needs to change. Not someday, right now. I'm Dr. Pradip Jamnadas. For decades, I've treated seniors with nerve pain, numbness, burning feet, balance issues, and something that many are told they simply must live with: neuropathy. One of the most frustrating things I see is how often people are told the wrong story about why their nerves are failing. They're told it's just age, they're told it's genetics, they're told it's inevitable. But in many cases, none of that is true. Now, I want to ask you one important question. And this is your call to action. Have you experienced tingling, numbness, or burning in your hands or feet? And did you know that blood sugar could be damaging your nerves even if you don't have diabetes? Leave your answer in the comments section because awareness is the first line of defense. Once nerve damage crosses a certain line, we don't get second chances. Let me tell you about a patient of mine named Frank. He was 68, recently retired, and still active. But his feet burned at night. His toes felt numb during the day. Sometimes he felt sharp electric pains shooting through his legs without warning. He was told it was probably just aging, maybe poor circulation, maybe one of those things. But when we dug deeper, we uncovered something else. A daily exposure, something he thought was harmless, was quietly poisoning his nerves. When we removed that source, the damage didn't reverse overnight, but it stopped getting worse. And that, right there, changed everything for him. Here's the open loop I want you to hold on to. What was that poison? And how many seniors are unknowingly feeding it to their bodies every single day? To answer that, we need to understand something fundamental about nerves. Nerves are living tissue. They aren't like wires. They are delicate structures that rely on oxygen, nutrients, and a stable internal environment to function. Unlike skin or muscles, nerves heal very slowly. This means that damage builds up quietly over time. Long before you feel pain, tingling, or numbness, your nerves may already be under attack. Now, let's talk about what's really happening. The worst poison damaging seniors' nerves isn't some dramatic chemical or rare toxin. It's not even alcohol on its own. The worst poison is something far more common, something many seniors are encouraged to consume regularly. That poison is chronic blood sugar toxicity. And this is critical to understand. You don't need to have diabetes for blood sugar to destroy your nerves. You only need repeated spikes, and millions of seniors experience those spikes every single day without knowing it. When blood sugar rises too high, sugar molecules attach to nerve fibers and the tiny blood vessels that feed them. This creates inflammation, oxidative stress, and damage to the protective coating around the nerves. Over time, nerves lose their ability to send clear signals. That's when tingling starts, then numbness, then burning, then pain, and eventually loss of balance. One of the biggest myths in senior health is that neuropathy suddenly appears out of nowhere. It doesn't. It develops slowly, often for years. While the poison continues to work in the background, quietly causing damage. Let me ask you something important. Have you ever been told you're borderline diabetic or pre-diabetic, or that your blood sugar is a little high but not too bad? This is often where nerve damage begins. In fact, studies now show that prediabetes causes nerve damage almost as often as full diabetes. The difference is that most people with prediabetes don't even know they have it. Now, I want to pause here because this is where many people start saying, but I eat healthy. And I believe you. Most of my patients thought that too. That's the problem. The poison is not obvious. It hides in foods and habits that seem healthy on the surface. Let me walk you through how this poison works. Step by step. You eat something that spikes your blood sugar. Your body releases insulin to move that sugar into cells. Over time, cells become resistant and sugar stays in the bloodstream longer. The longer sugar stays in the blood, the more nerves, especially the long nerves in your feet and hands, are exposed to toxic sugar levels. The tiny blood vessels that feed those nerves start to get damaged. Oxygen delivery drops, and the nerves begin to slowly starve. This damage accumulates so gradually that people don't connect the dots. They say things like, it came out of nowhere, when in reality, it's been building for years. So, if blood sugar toxicity is so damaging, why don't all seniors with high blood sugar develop neuropathy? The answer lies in the frequency of exposure, the duration of that exposure, and the resilience of the nerves themselves. Some nerves are able to tolerate damage longer than others. But once that damage crosses a certain threshold, symptoms begin to appear, and they often progress quickly. Let's now talk about where this poison comes from in daily life. The first major source is liquid sugar, fruit juice, sweetened coffee drinks, sports drinks, even so-called healthy smoothies. Liquid sugar enters the bloodstream extremely fast because there's no fiber to slow it down. This creates sharp spikes in blood sugar, which directly harms the nerves. Seniors are often told that juice is an easy way to get nutrients. In reality, it's one of the fastest ways to poison your nerves. The second major source is refined carbohydrates, eaten alone: bread, cereal, crackers, rice, pasta, especially when they're eaten without protein or fat. These foods break down into sugar very quickly. Seniors are often advised to eat easy-to-digest foods, but easy digestion often means rapid sugar release. That sugar has nowhere to go except into the bloodstream, and it ends up damaging nerve tissue. The third source is constant snacking. When insulin remains elevated all day long, nerves never get a break. There's no window for recovery. This is why grazing throughout the day is especially harmful to nerve health. Nerves need stable conditions to survive, but constant sugar exposure keeps them inflamed. Now, here's something most people never hear. Certain medications can also silently worsen nerve damage by interfering with nutrient absorption, particularly B vitamins. Medications like acid blockers, certain diabetes drugs, and cholesterol-lowering medications can deplete your body's B12 levels over time. B12 is crucial for maintaining the protective coating around your nerves. Without it, nerves become fragile and they start misfiring. Let me tell you about Susan. She had numb feet for years, and her doctors blamed aging. But when we tested her nutrient levels, we found she was severely deficient in B12. It wasn't her diet, it was the medication she had been taking for years. Once we corrected her B12 levels, her nerve damage stopped progressing. It didn't reverse, but it stopped. And that alone made a huge difference. Neuropathy is rarely caused by just one factor. It's usually a combination of blood sugar toxicity, inflammation, nutrient depletion, and poor circulation. But blood sugar toxicity is the accelerant. It's the gasoline on the fire. This matters because nerves have a tipping point. Early damage may cause tingling or numbness. Later damage leads to pain, balance problems, falls, and loss of independence. Once nerves die, it's extremely difficult to regenerate them. That's why stopping the poison as early as possible is critical. Now, here's the part I want you to hear clearly. Neuropathy is not always reversible, but in many cases, it can be prevented from getting worse. And that alone can preserve your quality of life. Which brings us to the most important question. If blood sugar toxicity is the poison, what can neutralize it? What protects the nerves? And what simple changes can seniors make to stop nerve damage from progressing? Many people expect complicated answers when they're looking for solutions. They think it must be extreme diets, expensive treatments, or miracle supplements. The truth, however, is much simpler, and that's why it's often overlooked. The first and most important step in protecting your nerves is stabilizing blood sugar. And no, I don't mean aggressively lowering it or chasing perfect numbers. I mean keeping it steady. Nerves don't need perfection, they need consistency. Every sharp spike in blood sugar is like a small chemical burn to nerve tissue. Fewer spikes mean less damage. That alone can slow or even halt the progression of nerve damage. Here's the single most important rule. I teach seniors with neuropathy, and it's one most people have never heard. Never eat carbohydrates alone. Not fruit, not bread, not crackers, not cereal. Carbohydrates, eaten by themselves, hit the bloodstream too fast, causing a sharp rise in blood sugar. Insulin surges, and nerve repair shuts down. But when carbohydrates are eaten with protein or healthy fat, absorption slows dramatically. The same foods that harm nerves when eaten alone become much safer when eaten correctly. This rule alone explains why some seniors develop severe neuropathy while others don't, even with similar diets. It's not always about what you eat, it's about how you eat it. Let me give you a real-life example. James, 74 years old, came to see me because his legs felt weak and unsteady by early afternoon. He had burning feet at night and numb toes during the day. He believed he was eating clean. But every morning, he drank a fruit smoothie made with banana, mango, juice, and yogurt. What he didn't realize was that the liquid sugar from the smoothie hit his bloodstream before his muscles and nerves had any protection. We removed the smoothie and replaced it with eggs and vegetables in the morning. We also moved a small portion of fruit to later in the day after a meal. Within weeks, his nerve pain eased, his balance improved, and his energy lasted longer. It wasn't magic. We simply stopped poisoning his nerves. The second major step is eliminating liquid sugar entirely. No juice, no sweetened drinks, no smoothies, even 100% natural juice is pure sugar without fiber. Fiber is what slows absorption and protects nerves. Without fiber, sugar hits the bloodstream fast and hard. Seniors often drink juice because it's easy, gentle, and recommended. But unfortunately, it's one of the fastest ways to worsen neuropathy. If you want fruit, eat it whole, in small portions, and never on an empty stomach. Fruit after a meal is far safer than fruit as a snack. This one simple change can dramatically reduce nerve irritation. The third step is nutrient protection, which is critical. Nerves require specific nutrients to maintain their structure and function. One of the most important nutrients for nerve health is vitamin B12. B12 is essential for maintaining the protective coating around your nerves, called myelin. Without enough B12, your nerves become exposed, fragile, and prone to misfires. Many seniors are unknowingly deficient in B12, especially if they take acid blockers or certain medications. But B12 isn't the only nutrient that nerves depend on. Magnesium supports nerve signaling and reduces cramping and twitching. Folate works alongside B12 to protect nerve tissue. Alpha-lipoic acid helps reduce oxidative stress in nerves and has been shown to improve neuropathy symptoms in some people. These nutrients don't cure nerve damage, but they help stabilize and protect what remains. Now, here's an important caution. More is not always better. Some vitamins, particularly B6 in high doses, can actually worsen nerve damage if taken incorrectly. This is why testing and guidance matter. Guessing can be harmful. The fourth step is reducing chronic inflammation. Inflammation is one of the biggest contributors to nerve pain. It sensitizes nerves, making mild irritation feel much worse. Inflammation turns what could be a minor discomfort into severe burning or stabbing pain. Highly processed foods, refined seed oils, and excessive sugar all fuel inflammation. On the other hand, foods like fatty fish, olive oil, vegetables, and spices such as turmeric help calm inflammatory pathways. Less inflammation means quieter, less reactive nerves. The fifth and final step is movement, but not the kind most people fear. You don't need intense exercise to protect your nerves. In fact, extreme exercise can worsen symptoms. What nerves really need is circulation. Gentle walking, especially after meals, helps lower blood sugar and improves blood flow to nerve tissue. Even just 10 minutes of walking can make a difference. Movement is medicine when done correctly. At this point, I want to address something important. Many seniors feel discouraged when they hear that nerve damage heals slowly. And it's true. Nerves regenerate very slowly, if at all. But stopping the progression of nerve damage is just as powerful as reversing it. Even small improvements matter. Less pain, better sleep, improved balance, fewer falls. These are real, life-changing improvements. One of the most harmful beliefs seniors are given is that nothing can be done about neuropathy. That belief itself becomes dangerous. I've seen people give up early, only to worsen rapidly because the poison was never removed. Let me share another story. A woman in her early 70s came to me using a cane. She felt unsteady and was afraid of falling. She had been told her neuropathy was permanent. But when we stabilized her blood sugar, corrected nutrient deficiencies, and removed liquid sugar from her diet, her nerve pain reduced enough that she no longer feared walking short distances. She didn't become pain-free, but she regained confidence, and that made all the difference. Neuropathy is not just about pain, it's about independence. It's about being able to feel the ground under your feet, to react quickly, and to trust your legs. Once neuropathy progresses too far, the risk of falls rises sharply. And falls are one of the biggest threats to senior health and longevity. That's why timing matters. Early nerve damage responds much better than advanced damage. Tingling and mild numbness are warning signs, not verdicts. They are signals telling you that something needs to change. So, here's a simple, practical way for you to take control over the next 2 to 4 weeks. Remove liquid sugar completely. Pair all carbohydrates with protein or healthy fat. Eat fruit only after meals, in small portions. Walk for 10 minutes after eating, if possible. And if you haven't had your B12 levels checked yet, ask for a test. Don't change your medications on your own, but be aware of how they might impact your nutrient levels. Observe what happens. Pay attention to your symptoms. Many seniors notice less burning at night, improved sleep, and steadier balance. Even small improvements matter because they signal that the damage is not yet fixed in stone. Here's something I want to say very clearly. Anyone promising a miracle cure for neuropathy is not being honest. But anyone telling you that nothing can be done is also wrong. There is a wide space in between, and that's where real progress can be made. Neuropathy often results from years of quiet damage. It makes sense that improvement takes time, but stopping the poison from progressing is always the first step.